Are you ready to get your credit card set up in QuickBooks, but you'd like a little support, or you want to know how to enter in your charges or your payments because you have a little bit of an issue? You are in the right place if we've never met before. Hello, I'm Candus Kampfer, and I can't wait to help you get your credit card entered. First thing you're going to need to grab is your credit card statement, and then come look over my shoulder as we go through. Now, just so you know, if you are a desktop user, this is the wrong video for you. This is for online. If you're a desktop user, click the link up above or down below. If you're an online user, you're in the right place. Let's jump in. So first things first, we got to set up your actual credit card in QuickBooks. So you're going to go over here under Accounting, Chart of Accounts. Now, there's a few different ways to enter in your credit cards. You can technically set them up here. You can also, because you're an online user, you might want to use bank feeds. What bank feeds are, let's do a quick little tutorial about it because it's a common question. Bank feeds is where you sync QuickBooks to your bank or your credit card company, and it brings in the data automatically. Brings in the date, the dollar amount, and it tries to help you start entering in the transactions. Now, I'm going to tell you, just like I tell everybody else, bank feeds speeds up the process, but it's typically not where I recommend you start. Bank feeds are like cruise control. You know, when you're learning to drive, you first learn how to put your hands on the steering wheel, shift, manual, depending on what you had going on. You know how to adjust the mirror, everything you need to know, and now you just do it automatically. That's when you want to add bank feeds into QuickBooks after you already know how to enter all the transactions. So what I'm going to teach you today is more how to enter them in manually. And if you want a video on bank feeds, let me know. But we don't want to start there, and I'll teach you why. Because typically, if you're using bank feeds without knowing how to enter them, you're going to find you have mistakes. And most likely that's what you're doing and why you're here. Let me know if that resonates with you in the comments. So when we're in here, grab your statement, and then you're going to come over here, and instead of trying to add it from here, you can choose to download it, but it's best, even if you're downloading them, that you enter at least a handful of transactions, maybe your first statement manually, and then add the automation. So you're going to go over here, go Accounting, Chart of Accounts. I know, I teach QuickBooks a little different than most people because I want you to be successful. All right, you're going to come over here and you're going to click New. So what is a chart of accounts? It's where the entire list of accounts that you have available to use within QuickBooks. You'll notice we already have 2 credit cards set up in this sample file, but we're going to create a new one together. So you're going to go over here, New, and you're going to choose Credit Card. They recently changed the look of this, so you never know what it might look like in the future. But the key to QuickBooks in some ways is just being willing to click and not worry you're going to break it. So you're going to click on Credit Cards, and then you're going to drop this down. You're going to choose a credit card here. If you want to set up what like we call corporate credit cards, where you have a business and then different credit cards, go above or down below. I'll add a video that's specific to how to set up a corporate credit card. So you're going to click on credit card here. If you want to set up your tax election, you can click on that. Now, account name, that is the important part. What you want to do here is you want to add typically the bank with which your credit card is at. Maybe it's Capital One. And what I like to have you do is also the last 4 digits of whatever your card number is. Okay, that way when you're going in, if you have more than one card with the same company, maybe you have an Amex or Discover or whatever it is, you want to make sure you have it there because you might have more than one card with the same company. Not a corporate card, but just a general card. If you want to add a description, you can. Now, the next question becomes your beginning balance. So this is a little conversation where we have to decide, where do you want to start your credit card? Now remember, this is how do you enter a brand new one. If you don't need this, you can fast forward just a little bit to the next section on how to enter your charges. So you want to grab your statement. If you are starting at the very beginning in January because you want to do your entire taxes, usually credit card statements run mid-month. So you're going to want to grab the one that goes from December into some part of January. Got it? If it's a brand new credit card, you've never used it before, then whatever's your first statement, all right? If you're just adding it to QuickBooks or in accordance with that guideline, okay? Let me know if you have more questions below. So you're gonna choose to click here, and you can choose to do it at the beginning of a year, beginning of a month, today, or other date. If it's a custom date, which most credit cards are, you are going to enter in the day before the current statement. So the statement I'm gonna teach, as you see here on the screen, is January, starts January 15th and goes to February 15th. So I'm going to start my beginning balance as of January 14th, the day before my statement. That's what I'd recommend you do as well. Okay. Then you're going to put in here your beginning balance. So my beginning balance is this. Now you'll see that it does a little something smart here. It says account balance at the end of the 13th. So you could choose to put the 15th here if you want, and it will assume that it's whatever your balance was as of the 14th. whichever way you want to handle it, it's not a huge deal. Okay, now I'm going to erase this because I'm going to teach you another way to do it as well later. Okay, so we're just going to shrink that up and act like we're not adding anything in there right now. And then we're going to click save. Okay, great. I just want to make sure that it didn't save anything. Now your card has been added. Where are you going to find it? In your chart of accounts. It should still be open. You're going to scroll down. These are all the different types. We're going to scroll down to credit card as the type. Now you'll notice that this one has little arrows going back and forth. That means that one's been synced and is being downloaded into QuickBooks, which you will learn how to do when you're ready. Next, you're going to go in and you're going to say, okay, I need to do a beginning balance. And this one added our beginning balance because we had put the dollar amount in there. But if you hadn't, and you need to come in here and either alter this because you accidentally put the wrong dollar amount or you didn't add it to begin with, you can go here and just enter in a credit card charge and it will enter it. You're gonna put in your date, opening balance as the memo, the $1,000 or whatever your balance is. Don't worry about this R over here. I'll teach you more about that later. And then your opening balance will be here. Okay, now let's go in and start entering in your charges. There's a few ways that you can do that in QuickBooks, okay? So you can do it here on this exact screen by in the register, just dropping this down and adding it. How did I get here? I went into your chart of accounts, found your credit card and clicked view register. Some people prefer to use the register to enter their charges. Some people don't. It doesn't matter what you choose to do. I recommend trying a few and figuring out which one you think is the fastest, quickest, and easiest to use, okay? So when you're in there and you're looking at your chart of accounts, if you selected the wrong account and you see it says 0, but you know you did, just make sure you drop this down like I did and pick the correct one. So you can come in here and you can add it. So you'll see on my statement, I had a transaction for January 15th to Exxon, okay? So you can put a reference number in if you want. You're gonna add your vendors. So all the people and places you spend money is a vendor. So you get to choose which kind. You can choose to add the detail if you want, but you don't have to. Then you can come over here. You can just do a quick add if you want and enter in the dollar amount. And then this is the key right here. So you can add a memo, but the key is which account do you want to go to? So if you want to see this under fuel, Exxon, then you're going to choose the account here. This account is how it's going to show up on your profit and loss, which means how you're going to be able to make decisions in the future. So that's one way to add your transactions. Another, because I just want to give you a few options. And if you enjoy this type of training where you really like to learn more about how to optimize QuickBooks, I'd recommend checking out Candus QuickBooks. I go through this and so much more in depth. So we're going to go under vendor expense. So the difference between expense and check is going to be a regular traditional check. It has a place to put a check number, and expense is where we're going to enter any ATM transactions, credit card transactions, anything that doesn't actually have a check number. Then you're going to go up here. This is where we add our payee. So the next thing on our statement, remember we're going based off of our statement, is Office Depot. The first few transactions, even though this feels like it takes more time, it's best to start here, so do that. So we're gonna go ahead and add it. If we want the address, you can, but typically these types of transactions, you don't need to. The next thing, and the key, is you need to make sure you choose where you spent the money. You're gonna choose your credit card. You'll notice it starts adding our balance here of everything. Then you're gonna have the date of your transaction. Now, you can choose, this is a sample file, you can choose to add your type of card here. So you could say Visa if you want, and a reference number. If you're using tags, you can add your tags here. If you'd like a training on learning how to use tags, please let me know in the comments and we'll add it to our future tips and tricks. Now down here, we're gonna categorize it. So guess what this is? This is just like the other one. You're gonna choose where do you wanna see this. So for Office Depot, it might be office supplies or office expense, depending on what you purchased and how you're tracking it, okay? So it's going to ask the type. And here we're going to go in and add an expense. You can choose this detail. Every now and then people get thrown off by that. Don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be a big deal. And then you just call the title what you want to see on your profit and loss. Click save and close and it will add that one. You can add a description, the amount for the transaction. You can add like what you purchased for. If you want to understand more about billable, taxable, and customers, that is what I cover inside of Candus QuickBooks. So check that out, as well as how to use items, memos, and attachments. We're going to go ahead and click save and close. Now we've entered in another transaction. Look, you'll see it inside of our register. We have the opening balance and our first two transactions. The reason is because I had that open behind the scenes, so it just popped it back in there. If you didn't leave that open, you won't see that screen. So you can choose, do you want to enter from the register or from the expenses? You can come right over here and instead of doing save, you drop that down and you do save and new or Control Alt S. All right, let's move on with entering in some more of our transactions. Oh, another little tip that I'll give you is if you want to see the previous ones you entered, you just click this little drop down and it will show you your transactions in there. So let's go on to the next one. You're going to come here and you're going to enter in where you spent your money, just like normal. You're going to do this over and over again. The thing is you're going to become such a pro at it that when you want to do bank feeds, you're going to just understand what question each of the areas is asking you. If you want to add your insurance information in, you can. And then you're going to make sure that you have the payment, how you paid for it, the date that you charged it on. So in this example, it's the 10th. You could type it in or you can use the calendar, however, whatever's easy. You can choose to add Visa or you can leave this blank. You have your reference number and then you're going to come down here and you're going to add your category. So this is going to be insurance. The great thing is if you have a typo, you can always go back and fix it later. Insurance. You can add description for what period of time it covers and you're going to add in how much money you spent. If you need to add any of these extra details, make sure you add them. And then that's the last one for this. So I'm going to click save and close. Now we're going to go in and we're going to enter in our credits. You'll notice on the statement we have some credits. So you can do from the register. You could do CC credit. By clicking that, you can manually enter it. So I'll do one this way and I'll do one the other. So you're going to enter in your date. What is the date for this transaction? So the first one is going to be January 28th. And you want to make sure you add the correct year. I'm doing a future dated year. And then you're going to come in here and you're going to do your rewards. So the first one is rewards from Capital One. So who gave you the reward, the credit card rewards? There's a couple different ways credit card rewards can happen. One of them is you get the money applied to your statement, which is this example. Sometimes you get money back. So you get to enter it depending on what you need. So we're going to go in here, we're going to do Capital One. We're going to click add. Every time you get a reward or you pay down your credit card, you want to be using them as a vendor. You can always add the last few digits of the credit card if you pay that vendor in more than one way. Let's say that you bank at Wells Fargo, Bank of America, something like that. You also have them as a vendor. So sometimes you might be paying bank service charges and paying them with a credit card. To speed up your data entry by having the vendor name very specific, it will make it easier to make the transactions, automate the transactions. If you're curious about that, let me know as well. Those are future videos and some videos that I've already created. So you want to make sure that you're adding the vendor. I love teaching you how to speed up transactions. Then it's going to have a credit memo, and because you chose a credit card credit, it puts it under a payment instead of a charge. That way you don't accidentally enter it for the wrong amount. Then over here, you could put in the memo like credit card reward for a period of time, let's just say for December, and we're getting it in on our January statement. Then you are going to choose an account here. Any idea what account you would choose? Credit card rewards is typically what I call it. And then what type of account is that? It's considered other income. It's not typically your primary way of getting income. So you're going to do it as other miscellaneous as the detail type, credit card rewards, save and close. So every time you get a reward, whether it's on your credit card or in a check, you're going to be putting it to other income. And then scroll over here, my screen, let me move my face off and click save. Boom. So that's how you can enter credit card reward. Another strategy to do it is to go here under vendors and click on credit card reward. We have one more where we did a return to Home Depot on this credit card. Home Depot is also a vendor. It's also going to go on your credit card. And then you're going to put in the date that you went there. It's going to be January 31st. If you have a reference number, you want to add a tag, then you're going to put where you want to go back. So when you do a return, it's like a charge. You're going to, when you make a charge, it went to job supplies maybe. Then when you go to return it, you're going to put it back towards the same account. Job materials. In this example, you can add a memo, you can add the customer, all of that data. You're also going to enter in the amount, okay? When you're done with all of that, you'll click save and close. Now we've entered our charges in a couple different ways. We've entered in, do you see how you're getting to learn more about the functionalities of QuickBooks instead of just trying to do everything in the bank feed? Gives you a little bit more data. So you'll notice in here, we have both charges and all of our payments as well. Now there's one last strategy of a payment, and that is going to be, as you see on the statement, straight from our bank account. So we're going to come in here as an expense. We didn't write a check, we paid it online. It's going to come, who's the vendor? Let's say who's the vendor first. We're going to choose Capital One because we're paying it down, right? It's not going to be the payment account isn't going to be that. It's going to be the checking account where we spent the money, the date based off of the statement date, which is that one. And then what is the category here? This is where the magic happens that we do it correctly. Capital One. Now, if you were thinking, I'm going to figure out where my expenses were. No, you've already entered your expenses. You go straight to the credit card. This will make all the difference and your life so much easier. I don't recommend using bills for credit cards. I highly, highly recommend this strategy right here. Okay, so you're going to enter that in. If you need to enter any other data points, you can. We're going to hit save and close. Now we have entered in all of our transactions that we see on our statement. We are going to reconcile. There's a few different ways to reconcile. You can click reconcile here at the top. You can also go over here under accounting and click reconcile. Either one of them is going to get you to the same place. QuickBooks has a lot of ways to get to different areas. You get to pick which one you want. So you're going to click reconcile. Whatever screen you're in is typically the easiest. You're going to enter in your ending date. Now, if your beginning date didn't automatically have an R next to it, that's okay. It might say 0. Don't worry about it. Just enter your ending balance and check off your beginning balance in the next screen. When you enter it in the chart of accounts, it will automatically say that it's been reconciled so that you don't have any issues. You're going to add your ending date of your statement. You see where I have, it was on the 15th, so we're going to pick the 15th. If we had a finance charge, we could add our finance charge. Well, this is the date actually. The date, we typically do it as the date of the ending of the statement, unless otherwise it says on the statement. But typically a statement doesn't show the exact date that they charge the finance. It's usually done at the end of the statement period. Then you're going to put in your dollar amount if you had a finance charge or interest. And then here we usually do interest expense. Don't do earned, that's income. I write expense just so you're really clear on the difference, okay? And you're going to have to add that. So if it's not already in there, make sure you add it. If you can't add it from here, you'd go here, add it to your chart of accounts, and then come back, right? We don't have any on this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip it. I will tell you that I prefer, instead of entering my interest or finance charge here on the screen, because you can't add a vendor, I prefer to enter it in as a charge instead. So I can add the vendor, the Capital One, or wherever the bank is that you're paying that fee to. You've decided which credit card you're reconciling. The beginning balance will automatically appear if you entered it through the chart of accounts, or you've reconciled it in the past, or someone did. Then you're going to add your new ending balance on this statement, the date, and click Start Reconciling. All right, so now what you're looking at is up here on the top, it has your statement ending date. Then it's going to have what was your statement. It also shows uncleared and a difference, okay? So we already have our beginning balance, which was our previous statement, so we know that's in there. Then we get to decide, we can go through and we're actually going to check off. I recommend grabbing your statement and literally with a pen, you check off every transaction as you clear it on your statement. So you're going to see Exxon and Office Depot, and then you're going to see your insurance. Okay, great. We have one more transaction to add. Carl's Hardware. So I'll go back and add that one. I missed it, but let me show you how you know. You go through and you check everything off and you're like, I'm off $124.78, and you'll see on my statement $124.78. Perfect. What does that mean? Ooh, I missed a transaction. I need to go back and enter it. So to go back and enter it, you're gonna just go in whichever way you prefer and enter in that one transaction. Okay. That's as easy as if you miss something, you can fix it. Or if you are using bank feeds, it's common that a transaction can be missed by the bank, not download. So that's why reconciling is so important, to make sure you didn't miss anything. So you're gonna go through, you're gonna add all of the data points that you want. We're gonna say job supplies material and amount was $124.78 on the statement. Always look at your statement, save and close it. I'm going to come back into the statement. I had left it up, if you noticed. I didn't leave it. Now I can check mark that. And now look at my difference is 0. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to say, okay, what is my beginning balance? If you've never used it before. If you've used it before, you won't need that, right? And then you still have a beginning balance, but that's your beginning. What are your total charges? That should match the total at the top of your statement, your total payments, and then what your balance is cleared. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can click charges, you can click payments if you just want to see one at a time, or you can click on all. If you find that there's a mistake, you can actually click on it. It'll pop it up. You can fix it here if you accidentally entered a wrong amount, or you can click edit. Okay, so once you're done, you can also click the little X to get off. You can always click on the little wheel if there's something you want to see it in a different style. There's the regular style, the compact, or the ultra compact. So you get to kind of pick which one you like best. Those are just settings, and these are the columns with which you see the date, the type. If you're like, I never enter a reference number, so I just wish that wasn't on there, or I want that on there, but it's not, you can adjust that accordingly. I clicked on the little wheel here. All right. If you find that you entered your ending statement balance and you had a typo, maybe you had 95 instead of 59, you can click edit info and come in here and change this to what you need it to be if you missed a date or something like that. Now, if you find that you entered a transaction, but it's not showing up in the date range that you have, you can actually click clear filter here and it will let that go. Reset the statement date and it will show it. What's the benefit of that? If you have a lot of old transactions, by having the statement date, it won't show all the stuff in the future in case you're trying to catch up on old statements that you missed in the past. So that's how that function works. You can also always find or search for data points here as well, okay? So once you're done, you click finish. And it's going to ask you, which a lot of people get confused by this, pay all or portion. Not always when you're reconciling it do you need to make a payment. Why? Because you might have already paid this one, or you might be paying it in the future, but you're not ready to pay it right now. So if you did, you could click pay part of the bill or the whole bill, or you can click on enter a bill to pay it later. Okay, this is entering accounts payable, which I don't recommend unless you're paying it off every month, or you go back and clean up how to do that. If you want a video on how to do it, let me know. Otherwise, you're just going to click done and not worry about either of those, and you're just done. You're good to go. Now, a few things to know when you're in here and you're entering in your transactions. If you're paying your credit card down and you make 5 payments throughout the month, these are the kind of questions I typically get, so I want to make sure I include them. You will actually do 5 different payments on the exact date that they came from the bank, the exact date that they paid down the credit card, okay? If you're in here and you want to see what's the debits and what's the credits and how did that happen, if you click this little wheel, the little time warp, and you go back to one of these transactions that you've entered and you want to see what happened, you can click on the more and look at the transaction journal. If you're one of those people who wants to understand debits and credits and what's happening behind the scenes, which you may or may not, know that at any point you can go and actually look at the journal to see exactly what happened behind the scenes within QuickBooks. There you go. You can see the debits and credits. You can go, oh, okay, it credited this, it debited that. Sometimes people want to know that, so I just want to give you that as a tip. So let me know, how are you feeling about your credit card? Much better? You realize all it takes is to grab your statement and start entering it in. Now, I will give you a little sneak peek of understanding how bank feeds work, just because I know there's a few of you like, I wanted to know bank feeds. So when you come in here and you're under banking, and we're building upon what you already learned, definitely something I teach inside Candus QuickBooks. Start with understanding what you're really doing so you don't get yourself in trouble. You come in here, and now when you click on one of the things that downloaded, whether it's from your bank or your credit card, you're choosing your vendor. Remember, you know where you spent money. Now you know that this, you don't want to go uncategorized. Don't just go click add. You need to go in and start looking at where did you actually spend that money, and you start adding more detail. This is the exact same detail it asks on the other screen, but by knowing what they mean first, it makes using your bank feeds so much easier. Let me know if that made sense. I hope you enjoyed this tip. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments, what was your biggest aha, or what are you excited to do within your credit cards? If you want to get these tips and tricks straight to your inbox, you can go up above or down below. We'll send them to you so you never miss one. And if you'd like to learn more about how to customize QuickBooks to your specific business, check out my Customizing QuickBooks workshop, CandusCampfer.com/workshop. Don't forget to save your seat. I look forward to seeing you on my next tip and trick. Have an amazing day. Let me know, what was your biggest aha below. See you soon. Bye.